All right, let's do this. On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very delightful treat. She's one of the top 1% attorneys on planet Earth, as well as one of the most sought after experts in the world of negotiation. She turned pain into purpose and made a decision, transitioning from being a single mom who left college to becoming one of the most powerful and iconic lawyers in the entire country. She's an unbelievable speaker and best-selling author of the books Negotiate Like You Matter and Breaking Free. She's empowering others to live their lives at their optimum level, personally and professionally, through her proprietary strategies to slay. She's just an overall juggernaut in all facets of life and a terrific mother. Please welcome the brilliant and badass narcissist negotiation expert, the dynamic Rebecca Zung. How you doing, Rebecca?
I am doing great. I love that intro. That was awesome. I don't know who wrote that, but that was good.
You wrote it. It's your life.
I love that. Oh yeah, but I didn't write that in that exact way. That was good.
You like the way it was articulated?
I did.
I take great pride in those. So I received that.
I love that.
I'm super excited for today. You and I have collaborated several times. I was on your podcast. You were on the Paradigm Ship with our mutual friend, Dave. And we always just have so much fun together. And it's funny, we were talking for so long before we hit record and we could have gone all day. Topics that I didn't know you were so into that we're definitely going to dive into today. Before we do a little bit of a journey, because we just hit 1 million downloads, the audience loves that. We're going to start off and we're going to get a little weird. You ready to get weird, Rebecca?
I am ready to go wherever you want. This is your show.
Let's do it. What is your superpower?
What is my superpower? Oh my gosh. Like that is a question that no one has ever asked me before.
I doubt that.
No, that's true. No one's ever asked me on a show, what is my superpower?
I'm full of surprises.
Yeah, that is such a good question. I think that my superpower is being able to figure out what messages will resonate with people.
I like that. I
Yeah.
can tell you thought about that one. That was deep.
Yeah, because I do know that I'm able to obviously, take something that will resonate with people and put it out there in the world and have people listen to it and have it touch their heart.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And even like every time I speak to you, like I'm elevated after that because you leave such a an impression on me. So the way you said that, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, I mean, I do, I feel like, not only do I want to be a powerful expression of what's possible, but I want that, when people are with me, they feel empowered.
I love that. And that's my ultimate goal as well. So hopefully the audience will at this conversation and hopefully I'll leave you empowered as well. What's something weird about you that a lot of people might not know?
Something weird about me that a lot of people
Don't be shy.
know. I like to dance.
Really?
I do.
So you're the first one on the dance floor.
Well, yeah, I love to dance. And I like to sing too. I like to sing rock songs, like karaoke.
Can you sing a tune?
Like right now, like just off the cuff?
Off the cuff.
I don't know. Usually, if I do karaoke, there's at least some music with me. I don't usually do it like without, any music whatsoever.
I understand. We'll come back to that one.
Yeah.
This is great. With everything that you've been through, you've had like many different seasons and chapters, which is one of the things that I love and I find so fascinating about you. Right now, today, what makes you feel most alive, Rebecca?
Definitely being with people who are up to cool things.
Yeah, and we were just talking about the before we went on air. Like you were at a mastermind this weekend, right? Like people with big ideas and just doing cool stuff, and just people who see things a little differently.
There's people who are, up to, cool things in the world, who want to change the world, who want to make an impact, who want to, who are who want to be the difference that makes the difference in the
Shake things
world,
up. Yep.
and who are for people, who are for uplifting people, who are for empowering people, who
Yeah.
are genuinely excited about helping people.
Yeah. You're on fire and you can't be stopped. That's all I got out of that.
I mean, I believe that we all are here for a purpose. I believe in abundance.
Same. Yeah. This is great.
Yeah.
I've had some of the world's most successful people on the show, and I always like to ask this question in the beginning, and it's cool because I always get a different answer, and I'm so curious to hear yours. Right now, what is your definition of success, Rebecca?
Oh, I guess what is my definition of success? Like that, I can impact as many people and as many lives as possible, that everyone that I touch sees light in themselves.
Yeah, love that. And I can confirm I'm already elevated just from speaking to you for the last 15 minutes.
Oh, that makes me so happy. That
And
makes my heart so happy.
And we're just getting warmed up. I'm gonna be flying after this.
Yay. That makes me so happy.
The audience always loves to get a little bit of background, so we'll touch upon that a bit, and then we'll jump around because I want to talk about all the cool and exciting things that you got going on now, and obviously the quantum stuff we're just talking about. You grew up in Virginia or DC?
Well, if you're from that area, it's kind of the same thing. If I say Virginia, I always have to say Northern Virginia, because there's such a difference between Northern Virginia and the rest of Virginia. If you're from McLean, Virginia, it is not the same at all as the rest of Virginia, because it's really pretty much the same as the DC area.
Yeah. When you obviously were jumping around a little bit, but when you were pretty young, your parents got divorced, right?
I was 14.
What kind of impact did that have?
What effect did that have? My parents didn't get along that well pretty much for a long time before
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah. So, I guess, at that point, things changed because we moved out of our house, and that changed. And, I pretty much lived with my dad at that point. I left to go to boarding school at, around that same time. I went to boarding school for high school. So my life changed a lot at that point anyway, but we were still grounded to that area. So I still was coming home to that area. But I went to boarding school in the Northeast.
Yeah. You have a really cool nationality. Your dad is Chinese?
Mm-hmm.
And what about your mom?
She has German descent, but she was born in this country, so basically more American. But my dad was actually born in Shanghai and came here when he was 15. Then he settled in the New York area, New York City. Yeah, actually, really? New York City. Yeah. He went to Bronx High School of Science, Columbia for undergrad and medical school. So I kind of have New York City ties as well. My, his family all settled in the New York City area. So I have a lot of ties to New York City as well.
That's how you got that swagger. That's great. So yeah. You were married pretty young.
I got married at 19 the first time. Had 3 kids by the time I was 22, got divorced pretty young.
Were they twins?
No, they were all born a year apart, 20, 21, and 22. They were all born a year apart. And then I got divorced, dropped out of college. It was all a crazy time in my life. It doesn't even seem like me in some ways, except that my kids are all like grown-ups. We all definitely all grew up together. And then I met my husband in law school. While I was still in my 20s, I finished college, went back to law school, met my husband in law school, and we've now actually been married 21 years. And we have a 19-year-old daughter together. So it's been this crazy ride. I mean, I settled down then fairly quickly again, you know, and, but it's just been, you know, it was crazy during that whole time frame,
Yeah.
but it, you know, that's how it went, you know?
Yeah. And one of the other things I think that's so interesting about you is you had so many different like professions, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So initially, I finished college and I was a teacher for a few years, actually in inner city Fort Lauderdale, before I, you know, just started law school at night. I went back to law school at night at University of Miami. They had a night school at the time, which they don't even, I don't think they have anymore. I had heard they don't have it anymore, but thank God they had it then. Yeah. And that's how I was able to do law school. And, you know, I basically got no sleep at that time. Thank God I was still pretty young, you know. I would never be able to do that now, but I was able to do that. And then while I was still in law school, I got a job with the top family law firm in the state of Florida. They did, you know, these huge multi-million-dollar cases. And that's how I got started in the family law world. My husband was actually a year ahead of me in school. So he got a job in Naples. So that's how I ended up in Naples, Florida. So he was with the state attorney's office over there, and I got a job with this family law firm, and that's how I got started doing that.
It's so cool. And so you had like almost so many different lives, right? And you were in finance for a little bit, if I did my homework correctly.
Yeah. So after I had my daughter, who's now 19, I had practiced law for about 8 years. And then I thought, oh, maybe it'll be better because she was about 5 at the time or something like that. And I thought, oh, this, you know, I'm not spending enough time with her. Maybe I'll try doing something that's a little less time consuming, because family law is so all consuming, especially high end family law, which is what I had been doing. So I thought, okay, let me try something that's a little less time consuming. So I got my Series 7, my 66, and I worked at Morgan Stanley actually, and I was with this big group. So I did that for a few years. And then this woman who had this really tiny family law practice came along and said, I'm leaving, I'm moving to Tampa. Do you want my family law practice? Here it is. And she basically dropped it in my lap. And it was like a dozen clients. And she said, you can have it. And I thought, well, nobody's ever going to drop a family law practice in my lap ever. So if I ever want to start my own practice, this is the time to do it, you know.
Sure.
Like what a great opportunity for me to like kind of have a little bit of a runway. So I decided to go ahead and start a practice. And so I took the opportunity to do that. So I did that. But I haven't actually a great story for your listeners. If you
Let's do it. Let's rock.
Yeah, it's a great negotiation story, a good message. So I was like telling my business coach, I hired my business coach right around this time, and it was about 10 or 12 years ago. And I said to my business coach, oh, the people of Naples are going to think I am such a huge flake, because I was a family law attorney. Then I was in financial services. Now I'm going back to be a family law attorney. I'm like, and Naples is kind of a small community. It's a very, very affluent community, very affluent. It's like the #1 millionaires per capita in the country. And I was just like, oh, these people are going to think I'm such a flake. And she said, people will think what you tell them to think.
One of my favorite
And
things that you say.
yeah, this is one of my favorite lessons. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, you can tell them to think that you're a flake because you don't know what, you're doing, and that, you're floundering around or whatever. Or you can tell them to think that you're the only family law attorney that has a financial background. So you're actually more qualified than any other family law attorney in town.
Perspective.
So which are you going to tell them to think? And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll tell them to think that. And she said, yeah, well. So I decided to come at it from that perspective, like with that kind of confidence. And guess what? I ended up growing like the practice like crazy. Within a year, I had like the top family law practice in town. And I can't tell you how many people ended up hiring me because they were like, you're the only family law attorney that has a financial background. So, of course, people will think what you tell them to think.
Yeah.
Right? It always starts from inside.
That's a beautiful message. And obviously the way you tell a story is phenomenal too. But for the audience listening, like we all have a story. And sometimes the parts that we might not think is actually the one that we should use to our advantage, because that's what makes us unique and so forth. And in this case, with a change of perspective, saying, yeah, that does separate me from the crowd. And then all of a sudden it gave you in the people's perception, in their eyes, you were the most qualified.
Right. But, if I had told them to think I was a flake, they definitely would have seen me as a flake.
Of course. Yeah.
But it always comes from inside first.
Absolutely. 100%. And then once you believe in whatever it is, the angle that you're going to, that's when the seas really begin to part. And also like the quantum, like we were talking about earlier, and we'll dive into that in a second. Two things that people probably associate you with right now are negotiation and narcissism. How did you gravitate towards those two big topics?
Well, the negotiation has been going on for years. I mean, I actually started lecturing on that probably in the mid 2000s. Early on, when I was really just wanting to develop my practice as an attorney, I knew nobody wanted to hear about divorce. And I thought, okay, what can I lecture on and get people to listen to me? And so I thought, okay, I'm going to develop a talk on negotiation. So I developed a talk on how to negotiate, powerfully. And I was able to, okay, if I want to talk about it to the American Business Women's Association, then it became how to negotiate powerfully as a businesswoman. And if I wanted to talk about it to, whatever group it was, I was able to tailor it to however I needed to tailor it. I literally have given this talk to every Rotary from Sarasota to Marco Island, to every medical association. And I ended up doing it as the keynote speaker for the American Bar Association to,
It's awesome.
That's how I developed my practice. And so it's something that I've been talking about for a very long time. So negotiation in and of itself is not a new thing that I've been talking about. And I've talked about it in many different facets. I've also talked about it as far as body language, clothing color, all sorts of things, embedded commands, many different areas of negotiation. This is not a new topic for me, actually. what's new for me is the whole narcissist piece, and how that came about was a couple of years ago. I realized that I've been dealing with a couple of narcissists in my life, one in a family setting. My husband and I realized through a psychologist that we had a covert narcissist in our family. And then I also realized that I was dealing with one in a business relationship, unfortunately. And both of them are just, were just horrible to deal with, absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And so I was reading and learning and studying absolutely everything I possibly could. I mean, a lot of the books you see behind me were just me ordering pretty much every book on Amazon that I could get my hands on to learn about this stuff for me personally, because we were dealing with them.
Yep.
So that was when I started to realize, hey, wait a minute, I could actually start applying this to all my years of negotiation training. And so at the time, I was still actually practicing law, which I'm not anymore, but because I don't have to, but because I'm doing all these other things that I'm doing. And I started to see movement in my cases. I actually started to see this working. And I thought, okay, I think I'm onto something here. At the same time, I was also teaching myself about funnels and landing pages and YouTube and all of these other things. So I thought, okay, let me do a couple videos. So I did one video on how to negotiate with a narcissist. And I had done other videos on clothing color psychology and on how to negotiate a pay raise and all these other little things. All those other videos got like 20 views, 30 views. I'm pretty sure they were like my mom and her church friends. Like nobody else other than that. And then this one video got like 600 views. And I was like, hey, maybe I'm onto something here. So I thought, well, maybe I should do a little more on that. And that's how it all started to come together.
Yeah, I love it. And this is really fascinating, especially for the audience, the whole narcissism thing. Two things. Number one, does a narcissist know they're a narcissist? And number two, for the audience listening, for people who have heard that word but aren't 100% sure what it means, what is a narcissist? What does that mean?
Oh, a narcissist probably does not know they're a narcissist. I'm sure they think everybody else is a narcissist. I mean, they're never going to like turn the spotlight on themselves. I mean,
Right.
They're not good at self-reflection or being self-aware.
Understood.
Yeah. And as far as what they are, this is a person who has no inner sense of value whatsoever. They just don't have any sense of self value. They don't feel any sense of inner self-worth. And so they have to try to get all of their self-worth from external sources. And how they try to do that is by, I call it, what I call good things, and it's not necessarily good, but what people would traditionally call good is like, the big house or the prestigious job or the right friends or the money or the adulation, the compliments, those kinds of things. The darker underbelly side of things is what I call it.
Yep.
Is the side that they don't necessarily want you to see, is the other way that they try to make themselves feel good is by devaluing people, debasing people, treating people poorly, controlling them, making them feel bad, bolstering their sense of self-worth by putting other people down, so that's the other way that they do it.
Understood. This is a really fascinating topic. I think a lot of people deal with narcissists and stuff like that, and maybe they're not sure. So I think this is so valuable to even just help identify them.
And I should actually add one thing that I left off. The
Please.
other half of this, actually. So that's the one half of it. The other half is that they have because of all of that, they have no ability to have any sense of care or empathy for another person. They literally cannot stand in the shoes of the other person and feel anything that another person can be feeling.
That's deep.
So yeah, so other people can stand in the other people's shoes and go, oh my gosh, you just lost your mother, that must be horrible, or your child has cancer, oh my gosh, like I feel that pain that you must be feeling. Like they cannot feel that. They can look at somebody and go, that person is looks like they grab their heart. Oh, that must be what you're supposed to do that, so they can emulate what a person is supposed to do, but they don't actually feel it.
Yeah, this is some pretty deep stuff. And I think that, sadly, everyone has dealt or probably is dealing with to some capacity a narcissist in their life. And it's like manipulation, right? Because like you think like you're trying so hard to like mend the relationship and you just can't, no matter what you do, like you're not right. But maybe the other person just has no ability to develop empathy.
Right.
Yeah.
They just don't.
It's crazy. Yeah. And that person can never see themselves as, let me take a step back, I was wrong in the situation. They don't have the ability to see that.
No, they can't.
Yeah. It's just deep stuff.
Right. And you're just completely wasting your time trying to get them to see your side.
So is there hope for narcissists?
Not really. I mean, my understanding is that, to even get them to go to therapy is extremely difficult. And then once you get them into therapy, it's difficult to get them to buy into the therapy. I've heard statistics that even once they're there, they start finding all kinds of faults with the therapist. They start attacking the therapist. The therapist is wrong. I mean, they have a hard time with the whole, it's hard to get them to be self-aware and do that.
So the bottom line is keep your distance.
Yeah, if you're in a relationship with that person, then obviously keep your distance if you're not in the relationship. But if you're already in the relationship, then I think, you're better served to try to get out of the relationship than to try to hold out hope that the person might actually get help.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle for sure. Yeah,
Right.
This is such an interesting topic, and I think it's so valuable to people out there that might be dealing with these people but aren't sure, and you just help basically identify them. So this is gold. Another thing that you always talk about specifically, and I love this about you, is never leave your thoughts unsupervised. I think this is the key. Can you dive in a little bit on that?
I mean, this is something that I learned myself when I was dealing with a narcissist myself. I mean, or a couple of them, my God. I mean, because when I was having to deal with them and the aftermath effects of them, it's so, they get inside your head. They do. They get inside your head. And not just after dealing with narcissists, just anyone who's dealing with, I talk about negotiating your best life and I talk about negotiation. And I think sometimes, a lot of times maybe, the first negotiation that you're doing is in the morning when you wake up with your own self for your own self-worth sometimes. I mean, or maybe it's just to make sure that your head is on straight, I mean, because maybe it's because you hit the snooze button and you're not in integrity with yourself
Ooh,
because you said you were going to wake up at 6 o'clock and you didn't.
that's deep.
You know, I mean, that's a negotiation,
It, it
because you're
absolutely is.
not keeping your word with yourself.
And then you lose self-trust.
You're losing self-trust.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a negotiation right there. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of different negotiations. And so I think, leaving your thoughts unsupervised can apply to a lot of different things. And so one of the things that I have gotten very vigilant about is, when I wake up in the morning, I get up, I set my alarm for the time that I am committing myself to get up. I mean, whatever time I'm setting my alarm for, it's because that is the time that I have committed to myself that I am getting up. And then when I get up, I have something set that I'm listening to, whether it's an audio book, whether it's a meditation, whether it's a gratitude
Podcast.
prayer,
Yeah.
podcast, whatever it is, it's like I'm making sure that right away I am
Feeding
the input so that the output is what I want it to be, so that I'm so aware of my energy.
Same.
And I don't mean energy like exercise energy, like
I know
energy.
what you mean, yeah.
I mean like your hertz.
Ooh. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And like your intuition.
Yes. Yeah. Because, if you allow people that have low energy, like people who want to have conversations about other people, who are,
Isn't that the worst?
yeah, let's talk about how bad somebody is, or let's talk about these nasty people or whatever. That's not something I want to engage in.
Same.
That's not helping anybody,
No.
and so I don't want to go there. I want to keep my vibrational energy as high as possible. And so I'm so aware of where can I keep my vibrational energy as high as possible? How can I do that? And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is if you are absolutely vigilant about doing that. And so first thing in the morning, where can I go to keep it as high as possible, or, put it there first thing in the morning?
There's so much synergy here, and I agree with you 100%. I start my day off with stuff like that also. But also one thing that we can do is obviously awareness, right? So if we're feeling a certain type of way, like for example, if we're not vibrating on that frequency that we'd like to be, and we take a second, it must be a negative thought in our head, which is changing our belief, which is changing our state. So once we become aware of that, we have the ability to go back in and get rid of those negative thoughts like intruders, and then replace them with more empowering ones, which change our belief. And at the end of the day, thoughts are random, but thinking is not, right? Most people get negative thoughts over the course of the day, but what most people don't know is once we become aware of that, we can actually eject them and replace them with more empowering ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually listening to Mel Robbins' book, The High Five Habit, recently. And she was actually talking about how you could clean it out, like you can clean out the lint in your filter in your dryer.
That's it.
Like just clean it out, like get rid of the lint.
No, it's so true. And it's not easy, but it's simple, right? Like what do I mean by that? Like anytime we're feeling a little off, if you just take a second and say, I must have some sort of disempowering thought, just get rid of it and put the empowering ones in. and all of a sudden it changes our beliefs, which change our habits and results. This stuff is so true. And I have to ask you, because you were talking about this before we went off air with the quantum stuff and the vibration and the energy. It's a very popular topic right now. And I'll be straight up with you. Like, I was always a mindset guy, like NLP, and I was a little skeptical about all the quantum stuff. And then recently I had surgery. They found a tumor in my foot, and I was training for the New York City Marathon, which we just completed on Sunday. So I had to do a lot of this training because I didn't have the physical capacity. And I went deep into the quantum, and this stuff is real. It's as real as it gets, and it works in real time. It's so fascinating. What does it mean to you to enter the quantum field?
Oh, I mean, it's so good. I mean, I'll tell you a crazy example.
Are you a nerd at heart? Because I just saw you light up like a Christmas tree when I asked you that.
Oh, I mean, well, I'll tell you, I mean, I have so many examples. First of all, at this mastermind I was at, I just got to spend an intense hour and a half with me and like 5 other people in a room, just the 6 of us basically, with Jim Quick. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, so good. Okay, so I was telling you about this business coach, and she's like studied, like with Joe Dispenza, like, and like herself, and like this crazy stuff. And so I told you, like, I was dealing with this business person and whatever, and then after that business situation like didn't work out, I went back to her, and I thought, I'm gonna have to go back to practicing law. And I said to her, I feel like the only way I can make money is by practicing law. And she said to me, it's just the brain remembering. She said, it's just thoughts. She said, it wasn't the law practice that made the money. It was you. She said, you can go make money however you want to make money. You make the money from the quantum. The brain was just remembering how you made the money. Like the brain is just a supercomputer that, like, in other words, you have to, like, the brain is just like this neuroplasticity of like neurons, but you have to like separate that out from what the quantum field actually is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, that is so powerful to me.
So powerful. And the law practice was just a vehicle that you were tapping into.
Right. But the brain was just remembering like that's how I made money before.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the law practice that made the money. It was me.
That's correct.
But that brain was just remembering. So like I had to like go, oh yeah, but I could tap into the quantum field and make money however I wanted to make money. And once I got that was like separate, I was able to go and like make money from this new endeavor.
Yeah.
And that's what I was able to do, and what I have been able to do. And it's been amazing.
Yeah.
And so I've like completely shifted now. And so, I've seen it completely change my life. And so, you have to, but we can tap into that quantum field. And that's why we have to understand that there's such abundance. The whole idea that there's this limited amount of whatever in the universe, and it's just so absurd.
Fascinating. Yeah, absurd. I like that word. And look, I'm a believer. I just had to tap into all this, or I chose to tap into all the stuff with the marathon training because the physicality was there. This stuff is so real. And it's so crazy. Like once you really get in that frequency where you're really in alignment, like manifestations begin to happen in real time. Right. And it's like there's a misconception, like the movie The Secret. Obviously, you were speaking about Bob Proctor earlier. I'm friends with John Assaraf. He's been on a couple of times. And
Well, now I've gotten to interview all those guys
yes.
myself.
Yeah. And
I mean, I watched that movie 15 years ago and I've actually spoken to all of them now.
that's a manifestation.
How crazy is that?
But the
I've
movie
interviewed,
itself was incomplete, right? Because
yeah, totally.
yeah.
But I've interviewed Bob Proctor, John Assaraf, John DeMartini, Joe Vitale. All those guys have been
Yeah.
on my show.
Yep.
Crazy.
Crazy, but also really not, right? Because you manifest and then you put yourself out there and use a thought as an electrical signal. And what I was getting at is the reason why I say the movie was incomplete is because it talks about like praying for a Lamborghini, something like that, and then it's in your driveway. That's not the way the quantum works. Like you have to be intentional, and then once you do all that, like you start taking actions towards that. It's confusing stuff, right? But like you, when you tap, like you just know. I'm still like trying to grasp how to explain what I just experienced with the whole marathon stuff. But hearing you talk about it and articulate it, it sounds pretty cool.
Well, you have to feel it. You have to rise to feel that. And there has to be a knowing. But once you meet that and it with every cell and soul in your body. I mean, it's just a knowing,
Yep.
like in other words, when you punch that thing into your GPS and you're driving from New York City to DC, for example, and you put that in your car and you start heading toward DC in your car, you don't go, well, I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. You're going to go there, and you start mapping it out in your head, and you go, and you start feeling it. You know what your car is going to feel like, and you go, okay, we're going to stop. Maybe we're going to stop in Maryland and we're going to stop at this restaurant, and you know what it's going to smell like, and you know what it's going to feel like. And you've got the whole thing all planned out in your head. Right. And it feels really specific to you.
Yeah.
And you don't go, well, maybe we're going to make it. Well, I don't know. I mean, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And well, like, and it doesn't, you don't do that, right? You go, I'm definitely going to DC, and this is going to happen, and this is what it's going to look like. And because the universe is very, it needs you to be specific.
Intentional.
And it needs you to, like, you don't go into a restaurant and tell the server you want food. Right? You go, I want the steak, I want it medium rare, I want the thing, I want the salad, I want no dressing, I want no croutons, I want, you're very, very specific.
Phenomenal analogy.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to be specific.
Yeah. This is gold. This is gold. I love this. And the truth is, the only negative we got going on is we don't have 10 hours to chat about this stuff. I love every time we get together. We'll land the plane with this. I wanted to ask you, because you talk about this in the past, and I thought it was so fascinating in regards to negotiation, just going backwards for a second. When it comes to males as opposed to female, they're able to hold their emotions in check in regard and handle it more like a business transaction as opposed to female. This isn't like an opinion. These are facts, right? Like studies.
True.
That's right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, because of the way the male brain is compared to the female brain. The female brain is just designed that emotions are more connected to everything. the male brain is, everything is compartmentalized. It's just the way the male brain is, which for, you know, which as a female, you know, sometimes it can be kind of annoying, you know, when you're in a relationship with a man. Sometimes, you know, it's like, how come, you know, it's like things are, you know, compartmentalized sometimes, right? But that's how the male brain is. They can only think of one thing at a time. And, you know, and so when they are negotiating, especially in a divorce situation, they just see it as a business transaction. And, you know, when I was counseling the wives, sometimes I used to say, listen, he's not seeing the woman who gave up her life and raised the children and all of that. He's seeing this is a business transaction. This is, you know, this is the deal. And so you're going to be better served if you see this also as a deal, and not try to get him to see this as, you know, an emotional situation.
Understood.
And so, whereas men, you know, they're much better at seeing it as a deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that sense, you know, they probably are better, but, you know, they're also not great at empathy, which is, you know, in those situations, which sometimes can be a negative, because all people want to feel seen, heard, and know that they matter. And so sometimes empathy can be a useful tool, which, you know, I know Chris Voss talks about that a lot too. And you know, you do want to make sure, and that's why my book is called Negotiate Like You Matter, because all people do want to feel seen, heard, and know that they matter. And so, you know, if you want to make sure the deal sticks, you're going to want to make sure that everybody walks away feeling like they got something out of the deal too.
Yes.
So, you know, there's pros and cons to both sides.
Understood. Love all this. You mentioned books. Do we have a third one in the future? I know you touched on
Yes.
that. Is it about the power of decision?
Say again?
Is it about the power of decision?
No, that'll be the next one after that. The next one coming out is definitely going to be on negotiating with a narcissist.
Okay. The two books that you have out right now, where's the best place to find them?
Breaking Free, a step-by-step divorce guide, and Negotiate Like You Matter are the two that are I've had out for a while. But I do have a free gift for your listeners.
So you do?
I do. I have a free gift for your listeners, which is they can go to winmynegotiation.com, which is my, you know, the URLs. It's easy for people to remember. And that is a free ebook, which is a Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet. It's a 15-page ebook. And it's a Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet is what I call it. But it's really an ebook. And they can just get that at winmynegotiation.com.
You hear that? Or go there immediately.
Yes, yes. And definitely come subscribe to my YouTube channel for sure.
Yeah. And also tell us everywhere where they can support you. But the CLS audience is very loyal and engaging. Where else can they support you, hang out with you, and watch what we got going on?
Oh, for sure. Come, you know, my Instagram at Rebecca Zung. You know, those are the main places. I mean, you can like me on Facebook, of course. My website is RebeccaZung.com.
Okay. There's one word that we haven't brought up that we have to land the plane with. Slay. Why do you love that word?
Yes. Yes. Slay. Yes, of course. Slay is my brand. Slay Your Negotiation with a Narcissist. Those are my courses. Slay is an acronym for developing super strong strategy, creating invincible leverage, anticipating what the other side is going to do and being 2 steps ahead of them, and focusing on you, your case, and your position. I always say that the best teams, if all they have is a good defense, then no one's scoring any points. So you definitely have to, you know, have a good offense.
That's awesome. I love the way you worded that. How can I support you, Rebecca?
Oh, you already have, Craig. I mean, we've been on each other's shows, and I love all the different collaborations that we've done so far. I mean, I always love chatting with you. You're up to some
Same.
super cool stuff in the world. I am so excited for all of your amazing success. I can definitely see why, you've catapulted so quickly. You've done some amazing things so far, and I see superstardom in your future.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I know you know the future with all the quantum stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and receive that one. For the audience listening, all we ask, if you absolutely love the episode, take a screenshot of it, post it, tag Rebecca and I, and we post it back. Rebecca, I want you to know the definition of resilience, grit, heart, and perseverance. You're making the world a better place by empowering others to implement your kick-ass, persuasive, ninja negotiation skills. You're an unbelievable mother to your children and a role model and beacon of hope for anyone coming up today with big goals and aspirations. I could personally guarantee your best is yet to come. I have so much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stopping by and dropping your gems today. Keep on spreading your wings. And I know for certain this is obviously just the beginning of our special bonded relationship.
Thank you so much for having me. You are incredible.
Have a good night.